I did not think I would be recording a response video to our mid-year review video, which we released just a few days ago at the time of this recording. If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend you watch that before this one. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But basically, in there, I talked about some of the accomplishments we've had so far in the first half of this season and some of the things we're going to be doing in the next half, including some changes that I might be introducing. And people don't always like change, right? But I read through all of the comments, and whether people agreed or had concerns about some of the changes I was talking about, what I saw was a bunch of thoughtful, passionate people sharing their point of view from a place of caring about, the direction of this channel, where it goes, and how it evolves. And wow, that really meant a great deal to me. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video in the first place, but then taking the extra time to type out your thoughts and share that with me. It really meant a great deal. And there were so many comments that I couldn't possibly respond to all of them there, especially without repeating myself. So what I thought I would do instead is pick out some of the comments that I felt did a good job of summarizing some of the general sentiments I was seeing across some of the other comments, and try to elaborate on those here. And the first one I thought I would pick is the idea of retiring the blue polo, because I would say that received the most responses of all the proposed changes. And in tribute to the polo, I'm actually wearing here one of the vintage white ones that I used to wear a few years back. So Ed Hickey wrote, "In my humble opinion, you should keep the polo. It's your brand, and along with your set, it lends an air of professionalism to your videos that helps people think they're getting a complete and competent picture of what a game is like." And this is something that I heard in several of your comments. Two things really, that one, the polo is both a fundamental part of the brand of the show, and also it allows people when they're viewing the content to more easily accept that this is a trusted source. And so just to reiterate that, Jana444 wrote, "Polish and professionalism help set our minds at ease that you know what you're talking about and are a trusted source." Kay King wrote, "The polo has a sense of trust and professionalism associated with it. It lets us know that you know what you're talking about." Stephen Coons wrote, "I have to admit I like the polo. The professional look helps lend credibility to the channel." Comments like these I found to be very persuasive in presenting reasons for why the polo should be kept. Because honestly, I agree. When I'm watching somebody else's YouTube video, if they're wearing something a little more formal, if they look polished, then instinctively, rightly or wrongly, I tend to trust the information more. And frankly, I work quite hard to create an air that this is a trusted source, that when you're watching this rules video, you know I've done my research and the information you're getting is correct, and I want to do everything I can to support that idea. Now, Albernork Albertson wrote, "I know a Watch It Played video will be well edited, lit properly, have excellent sound, and rules presented in a manner that makes sense." Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. It's an excellent brand. The blue polo shirt is a big part of Watch It Played's brand. It's really all of those reasons that I hope the professionalism, if there is such an air of, it's very difficult for me to talk about this because I feel like I'm paying myself compliments here. Our professional show, and anyway, the conversation requires me to do this, but I don't like it. If there's an air of professionalism to the show, it's made up from a lot of different ingredients. And although yes, I would agree the shirt is a part of that, I'm not sure I want it to be a fundamental part or even a necessary part of that if I could help it. Let me put it a different way. If changing my shirt lessens overall the professionalism of the show in some kind of really meaningful way, or if it changes the trustworthiness of the content I'm creating, then I think I have a bigger problem to deal with. I think that means there's fundamentally something else that's wrong with the show. But look, either way, this is something I'm definitely going to evaluate and reevaluate if necessary. But I think it's important for me to try. I need to experiment a little bit and try doing some videos without the polo and just sort of see how I feel about it and what the general reaction is to it. And actually, we have a video released right now where I've done a tutorial and I'm not wearing the traditional blue polo that I've been wearing recently. And it's the Quacks of Kvedlinbog. So if you'd like to check that out and sort of see what your reaction is to it, hopefully it's positive, but we'll see. And hopefully you can kind of get a sense, did the change in the polo, was it a big, did it have a big impact on you? or was it something slightly more subtle? Because if it's more subtle, then my suspicion is that this is a change that's just going to be disruptive to what we're used to, but not hopefully disruptive to the purpose and intention of the content itself and what it's able to do in helping people to learn how to play games. Okay, one last comment about the polo and then we'll move on to the next thing. Dennis Ryan wrote, I really appreciate the polo. I'm not distracted in the opening minutes of your videos checking out what hilarious gaming pun t-shirt you're wearing. And I think it would be to your detriment if it started to feel more like someone just recording a tutorial in their living room or kitchen. And I think this is a crucial part that I forgot to elaborate on when I talked about retiring the polo. Because I didn't really say what I'm talking about replacing it with. I'm not the kind of person who would sort of roll onto set in, like a rock t-shirt and cut off jeans. Although if I did, oh, can you imagine the views and the comments? Whew, the comments. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to wear anything that I would consider distracting and taking away from the purpose of the video, which is to teach a game. And I'm also not going to relocate to a wacky, more casual setting. It's going to still be here in the studio wearing, see, for me, casual is a lot of button-up collared shirts. So I don't get too crazy. And that means you can expect to see that. And plaid. They'll be plaid. Lots of plaid. Plaid is the new brand. All right, so moving on. The next topic was subscriptions and like reminders, and Rich Holland wrote in one of his comments, hey, you don't ask, you don't get. Now, while some people did recoil at the idea of me introducing into the videos something along the lines of, hey, please consider liking and subscribing this video if you enjoyed it. And believe me, I understand that reaction. I think most people understood that for some viewers, that reminder is what helps them think to like and subscribe to the channel. And some people did comment. They didn't realize that that's what likes do, that it actually helps the video in actually some meaningful way outside of just doing it for my sake. It actually helps get the video in front of other people. And I think I found in that Quacks of Quedlinburg video that I just released, I think I found a way of introducing it into the video in a way that's natural and only takes about 5 seconds. And I really think the reason most people have a negative reaction to it is not that it's being done, but how it's being done. And my hope is that I've found a nice way of doing it that isn't disruptive or distracting from the videos. And you can let me know. All right, so the last item was this idea of doing some opinion-based content. And I made another mistake here in how I presented this, because although I did specify what I'm talking about doing is maybe proposing some games for certain situations or recommending some of games that I enjoy and maybe why I kept some of them on my shelf, I think I used the word review, and as soon as you do, that's a word that conjures up all kinds of ideas. And many of the ones that were written in the comments, I could tell some of those concerns were being expressed because I did not define what I wouldn't be doing. And that's on me, because it left the door kind of too open to what possible things I could be getting into. So let's look at some of the comments, and I'll address some of those. So David L. wrote, board gaming is generally a very positive hobby, and part of the reason I enjoy your channel so much is because of your radiant positivity. Well, thank you, David. That's very kind. Patrick P. Roy Ferreria wrote, I personally wouldn't bother going into games that you don't like. No point in crapping on games. I can tell you right now, I have absolutely no interest in spending any time telling you why you shouldn't like a game. I have no interest in telling you why I don't like certain games. So that is not something I would be doing in any of this opinion-based content. It would really be coming from a place of recommendation, telling you why there's something I enjoy, what elements of it I enjoy, and why that might be something that would relate to your interests. I know there are people out there who really believe you have to understand what people don't like about something to truly appreciate what they like about something, but I philosophically do not fall in that camp. I really don't think I have to eat a rotten festering steak to appreciate a really, really good steak. And in the same way, I think I can share with you why I like something and have you appreciate why that is if I'm doing my job correctly, without having to also take a dump all over a bunch of other games that I don't particularly care for. Rich Mulholland also wrote, I believe reviewing could pose some issues. For example, if you teach some games that you love and then review them, could we then ascertain that you dislike certain games that you teach but don't do a review of? It's a dangerous line. Personally, I think it's good that you stay as Switzerland. Well, I've been very comfortable in Switzerland, honestly, on this channel, and I have no real interest in doing things that will be polarizing to people. That's not where I get my enjoyment out of creating content. But I will also say this. I don't know that I want to make decisions about what types of content I create because of the potentially ill-founded assumptions that people try to make based on patterns they're observing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if people are going to assume, well, he didn't review that one, but he taught it, that means he doesn't really like that game. That's an assumption you're bringing to the table, and I can't control that, and I'm not going to allow that to factor into the choices that I make around what I do. I'd rather that you took me at my word. And if I don't have that, I'm not sure what else I have, honestly. But Rich, I should say, I appreciate what you're saying. I recognize that what you're saying is true, that by doing this, I could be opening myself up to certain types of assumptions people will make about me. I'm just saying that I'm not going to allow the potential for those assumptions to be made to influence what I decide will be good or interesting content for the channel. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, Tony Hilliard wrote, will doing reviews impact tutorial and gameplay content that you're already producing? This is something else, Tony. This is on me. I again should have clarified that tutorials, gameplays, those are the priority. I mean, that's what I love doing. There's a reason why I haven't done reviews in the past. Tutorials and gameplays are where my real motivation, that's where my passion is. I'm more like just toying with the idea, when I have some free time, in those pockets of time, maybe I will try to do some other types of content that are a little different than what I usually do. And I do not envision doing any more than like one a month at the most, if I can manage to fit that in. And I'm not even sure if I can. This may all be an idea I've sort of just talked about and then it just fizzles and goes away. Yes, tutorials, gameplays, those are the priorities. This other types of content will not impact that workflow. Kirk wrote, if you go the route of providing reviews as well, then that's a slippery slope, as you'll likely encounter a number of conflicting interests that can bring impartiality into question. You've always done an exemplary job of openly and honestly communicating these different factors to your viewers, so I fear that it would become muddied a bit. Well, Kirk, thank you. First of all, thank you for the compliment. I have tried to be, particularly in videos like this, open and kind of transparent about what's motivating me, what I'm thinking, and so on. And for that reason, it's my hope that if I do start introducing some opinion-based content to the channel, it will be less muddied in a way. Because if you believe what you're saying is true about me, it'll still be me who's doing those videos. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it'll be me. And if you trust me, then you trust me. If you don't trust me, then you don't. and that's fair. But here's the thing I can tell you. I'm not going to be impartial in the opinion-based content. And no one who makes opinion-based content, no reviewer, is ever impartial. It doesn't matter how many times they've been negative, how many times they've been positive. They're still being biased in every aspect of their reviews. You can never turn that switch off as a human being. You're always influenced by things. Not only are you influenced by things that you have some control over, you're influenced by all kinds of things you have no control over and aren't even aware of. So definitely I will be going into any kind of opinion-based content with the disclaimer that, look, I am a biased human being. These are just my flawed and human opinions about fun, which is the most subjective thing of all, perhaps, right? So, and also I should be very clear, none of that subjectivity will ever enter in the tutorial content. When we're doing tutorials, there won't be some kind of mini review at the beginning or the end or whatever. If you don't care to see my opinion about things, it'll be very easy to identify that content, and it'll be a very small part of the channel. So it can be easily ignored if it's not something you're looking for. And if it is something you're looking for, then hopefully you already have kind of a base level of trust in me and what I would present to you. Ian Kelly wrote, personally, I would love to see a Rodney Recommends or Pep Proposes segment. I like that. Pep Proposes, that's good. I'll have to run that by him. All right, MM wrote, on an ancillary note, you've been making a lot of changes to the channel in the last couple of years. Not to say any of that is good or bad, it's just part of the evolution of the channel. But you might want to keep in mind when thinking about making other major changes that this has been happening. Viewers who've been watching since the beginning see a very different channel now. And with rapid changes on top of changes, they might start to wander. Well, look, I think that's a fair suggestion and point of view. I know for me, as someone who's been living in this channel every day, every minute, every second of it for the last 8 years, none of those changes feel especially fast. I'm not sure if they actually are happening at a fast pace, but I can appreciate that the way I'm perceiving time in this channel and the changes is probably different than people who view it here and there. And even if they view it regularly, it's still just sort of like something that happens, for a few minutes each day even. Whereas for me, it's like every day, all the time. It's hard to know exactly when the right time is to introduce a change. And I think no matter when you do it, there'll be some people who won't like it or think it's too soon or too late or who knows, right? I try to make these decisions using my heart and mind to the best of my ability. I try to do what I think feels right and also what I think will work. So if something feels right but I don't think it'll work, then I just don't do it. And likewise, if I think something would work but it doesn't feel right to me, I won't do it. So I'm kind of left to decide when I think those changes need to happen. And yeah, I think some people won't like them sometimes and will leave because of that. But my hope is that I'm making the right decisions, and overall, for the majority of people, including people who've been with us a long time, they will feel like those changes are for the best and are in keeping with the core principles of the channel. So that even as things are changing, people still go, yeah, but in that nugget of the show, what's at the core of it is still that same thing that first attracted me here. Again, won't be true for everyone, but overall, hopefully, that is the case. Well, we'll see, right? And either way, the one thing we can say for certain is that I will make mistakes along the way. I have in the past, I will in the future, and hopefully I learn from them. And hopefully most people have patience for me as I figure these things out, and together we get to keep moving forward in a positive direction. And if you'd like to see, again, many of these changes introduced in real life, this new tutorial video that we released, The Quacks of Quedlinburg, or Quedlinburg, as it is in the original German, or my attempt at it anyway, you can find in that video the change of shirt, the change of intro, a new style of intro and outro, the recommendation to like and subscribe if you like. You can see how I kind of cooked all those things into a tutorial video in practice, and see what you think. But otherwise, until the next episode, thanks for watching.